Hello everybody, it's Mystic and welcome to my library. This is my top 10 list of Mass Effect 1's worst NPCs. And by that, I mean just the truly bad, vile, quote-unquote evil characters that Mass Effect 1 has to offer. Now, I am not going to include the obvious main enemies like Saren and Sovereign and Matriarch Benezia. Those are kind of a given. I also did not include any NPCs that were from Shepard's background assignments. These are the ones that had ties to whether or not Shepard was a spacer, a colonist, or an Earthborn. And the reason I did that is because not everybody is going to encounter those NPCs during their playthrough. It really just depends on what background they chose, so I decided to leave those out. And before I get into this, I do want to state that there will be major Mass Effect 1 spoilers in this video. So if you have not played this game and you want to, please be sure to give this a miss until you have already played it, and then you can weigh in on it when you have. So without further ado, let's get this list started, shall we? Number 10, Dr. Ross. Dr. Ross runs an exogeny lab in the Maroon Sea cluster, and you can find her if you have the assignment UNC Exogeny Facility, which will become available after completing the main mission on Pharos. Dr. Ross is experimenting on Thorian creepers, which again, if you have done Pharos already, you already know that they are the zombie-like creatures created by the Thorian, and she's working on an experiment to try and turn them docile. However, something goes wrong with the experiment, which is why you are brought in to try and resolve the issue, and they start attacking the scientists that are in the lab with them. If you go to rescue them, she tries to bribe you to sweep all of this under the rug and pretend it never happened. If you decline, which is something that the Paragon version of Shepard will probably do, she is going to attack you because she doesn't want this information to get out and ruin Exogeny. Now, she's obviously not the worst character on this list. There are way worse characters, but she's pretty crooked, she's pretty corrupt, and she's willing to just sweep aside the fact that so many scientists died under her command because she doesn't want to hurt her precious Exogeny Corporation, which, you know, we're going to talk about Exogeny a lot, well, a couple of times in this video, and Exogeny just stinks. They're one of the worst corporations in Mass Effect. There are several that suck. Exogeny is probably one of the worst ones. So you'll see Exogeny again a little bit later in the video, but she's definitely not the worst that this terrible corporation has to offer. Number 9, Nassana Dantius. You can meet Nassana, an Asari diplomat, when you receive the assignment Asari Diplomacy. In order to get this assignment, there are a couple of ways to do it. The way I usually get this assignment is that Nassana will actually contact Shepard directly and ask Shepard to meet her in the Presidium on the Citadel. She has an issue that she needs help resolving and asks if Shepard can help. Usually this happens after Shepard completes the first main story world, either Noveria, Pharos, or Finding Liara. You can also stumble upon the goal of this assignment before doing any of those worlds, in which case she won't contact you and her story is a little bit different at that point. But usually you don't stumble upon the world that the location that the base is on beforehand, so she usually ends up contacting you before. So Nassana tells Shepard that her sister Dahlia has been captured by mercenaries and asks Shepard to save her. When Shepard gets to the world to rescue, quote unquote, Dahlia, it turns out that Dahlia is actually the leader of this mercenary group. And the only reason Nassana sent you there was to kind of be her hitman. She wanted her sister dead because she felt that her sister having ties to a mercenary organization is going to hurt her politically and embarrass her. And as an Asari diplomat, she just couldn't let that happen. So she had Shepard kill her own sister. Great, right? Super awesome. By the way, Nassana, you'll see her again. Pay close attention to her name. She will show up again in Mass Effect 2, but that's all I'm going to say about that because I'm going to save that for another video. Number 8, Fist. You will encounter Fist fairly early in the game, as he is part of the main storyline. Fist is a crime lord that owns the rather seedy Ward's Bar Cora's Den. Your new squad member Rex has been tasked by the Shadow Broker to kill him, as he actually defected from the Shadow Broker in order to join Saren, which the Shadow Broker does not like being betrayed. as evidenced by the fact that he now has a Krogan bounty hunter on his butt. So, what's up with Fist? Fist is, as I said, part of the main story, and what ends up happening is Tali, your eventual Quarian squad mate, has found him and asked him for help because she found information on Saren and needs to know who to give it to so that, you know, people can find out what Saren's up to. However, not knowing that he's already working for Saren, he leads her into a trap, and if Shepard didn't intervene, Tali would most certainly die. He basically sends this young, naive Quarian to her death because she has information on his boss that would hurt his boss and probably his prospects at other jobs. I don't know. He's pretty awful. Number 7, Harkin. Ugh. I hate Harkin. Harkin shows up also fairly early in the game. You have no choice but to deal with him as he is also part of the main story missions, and he is the one you have to talk to in order to figure out where Garrus is. However, Harkin was one of the first human CSEC officers, but he pretty much gave humanity a pretty bad name from the get-go due to drinking on the job, taking bribes, and hurting suspects while in his custody. He's already sounding pretty amazing, right? Well, it doesn't stop there. If you're playing a female Commander Shepard, as I almost always do, he's also going to sexually harass her. Fun, right? There are a couple of people that you can punch in the face in Mass Effect 1, and I am so upset that he is not one of them because I would absolutely love to punch him in the face with my female Shepard, or, you know, other places that might hurt even more. The other problem with Harkin is that he decides, just because he's a jerk, that he's gonna just sell out Anderson to Commander Shepard. He's gonna tell her all about Anderson's story, how he was the first human Spectre and it went wrong because he screwed up and now humanity is having a harder time becoming a Spectre. Now, turns out what he's telling Shepard is really not what happened, but Harkin has a bone to pick with Anderson, so of course he's gonna try and make Anderson look bad in Shepard's eyes, since Anderson is Shepard's superior. The only reason he's not higher up on this list is because he doesn't actually kill anyone. Harkin is another one that will show up in Mass Effect 2 as well, just like Nasana Dantius. So yeah, look forward to that. I'm sure he'll be in the Mass Effect 2 version of this. Like I said, I hate this guy. Number 6, Major Kyle. You'll meet Major Kyle if you do the assignment UNC Major Kyle. Major Kyle is a former Alliance officer that served on Torfin, and if Shepard has the Ruthless background, he was actually their commanding officer back then, because Shepard, if Ruthless, served on Torfin as well. Major Kyle was honorably discharged from the Alliance, and after that decided to form a biotic commune, which eventually turns into a cult. What's interesting about this is that Major Kyle is not a biotic himself. He just decided to take in a group of kind of disheartened biotics and lead them as their god. The members of this cult refer to him as Father Kyle, and he starts to preach that the Alliance is the reason that biotics have it so bad. So basically, he's turned biotics against the Alliance. Not only that, but the Alliance actually sends 2 negotiators to talk to him and try and get things under control at his cult, but he has those negotiators killed because he sees them as a threat to his commune. He just really sucks because he's one of those super charismatic people that can really sway others to his way of thinking. And in the long run, it's just hurting others. And he's responsible for the deaths of 2 innocent people that were just trying to help. And if you don't have enough charm in order to get through to him, he will end up attacking Shepard as well. And a lot of his followers will get killed in the process, which he also doesn't seem to care all that much about, which is, you know, ironic considering he's supposed to be their protector. Number 5, Administrator Ananias. Shepard will meet Administrator Ananias upon arriving at Port Hanshan during the Noveria mission. He basically runs Port Hanshan and is pretty crooked and doesn't really want to cooperate with Shepard, even though Shepard is a Spectre. Ananias seems to care more about his investors and whether or not they're happy than the possible emergency on Peak 15 and whether or not the scientists there are in any trouble. Not only that, but he is also blackmailing another NPC named Lorik Keen, who is a Turian that turns out has some pretty interesting information about him. And if you can get Lorik Keen to testify, it'll turn out that Ananias is just a really corrupt person. And it turns out that his secretary is actually an undercover Noveria internal affairs agent, and she can arrest him if you give her enough information. Doing this will get you the ability to actually move on to Peak 15, which is where the main plot of the Noveria mission kind of pans out with Matriarch Benezia. However, he is just basically a pain in your rear the entire time. He's letting people die up on peak 15 because he doesn't want to anger his investors, and he's just awful. Number 4. Helena Blake. Helena meets you on the Citadel and gives you the locations of various leaders of a criminal syndicate. They're basically black market dealers, slave traders, etc. And this is for the assignment UNC Hostile Takeover. Now, it turns out that Helena is actually a crime lord herself. And the reason she wants these other crime lords taken out is she wants to take over the syndicate. So if Shepard goes through with this and takes out the other crime lords, Helena has the chance to take over. And Shepard will meet up with Helena at the very end of this assignment, where Helena will basically, tell her all of this and say, but don't worry, I'm not going to get involved in slave trading or drug deals. You can trust me, wink, wink, nod, nod. So if you're playing a Paragon Shepard, this is not really gonna fly. If you're playing a renegade, you're gonna have no problem just letting her go and do her business. But as a Paragon, this is not okay. So if you tell her that you're still going to arrest her, for plotting the murder of people, possible slave trading, possible smuggling, she's gonna get pretty mad and attack you. Number 3, Ethan Zhang. Shepard will meet Ethan Zhang on Pharos during the mission there. He's an Exogeny employee that is hiding with Juliana Bainham and other Exogeny employees when you go to the highway that's kind of taken over by the Geth. But it seems that Ethan kind of has his own agenda. He seems to know more than he's letting on, and it turns out that he actually knew that the colonists at Zoo's Hope were infected by the Thorian and were under its control, and that was why he didn't want anybody to go back there, because then they would find out. And I guess that would be bad for Exogeny. Remember how I said we were going to see Exogeny again? Ethan Zhang basically cares only about the company's interest and puts the entire colony of Zoo's Hope at risk in order to keep the company safe. He will then attack Shepard with a gun. He also has a gun on Juliana Bainham, and you pretty much have to get rid of him. You can possibly save him with enough charm, but you have to have a pretty high charm, and depending on when you play Pharos, you may not have enough. Either way, this guy is a scumbag, and I don't think the galaxy is going to miss him all that much. Number 2, Cerberus. Cerberus is not one person. Cerberus is actually an organization of humans, and they're pretty much terrorists. They want humanity to be more powerful within the galaxy, and they're willing to do anything. And I mean anything to make that happen. They try to experiment to make super soldiers. They've attacked colonies with thresher maws. They've turned entire colonies into husks. And the one that usually gets me angry at them the most is what they did to poor Admiral Kahoku and his Marines. Admiral Kahoku is another NPC that asks you to go and find his missing Marines in the assignment UNC Missing Marines, and it turns out that they had been lured to a thresher maw nest and killed horrifically. It turns out later that it was Cerberus that did that. Admiral Kahoku found out, they captured him, they killed him, and then continued during their horrible experiments. Now Cerberus, we're not done with Cerberus. No. You'll see them again. Don't worry, you don't really learn all that much about them in Mass Effect 1. You will, however, learn way more in Mass Effect 2. Just know that they're a pretty bad terrorist organization that really will do anything and everything to give humanity more power, even if it means killing or hurting or harming or experimenting on their fellow humans. Now, before we go on to number 1, I have a few honorable mentions here because these people, they suck. But they're not necessarily evil or bad or killing people. They just are kind of annoying. So let's talk about them real quick. The first one is Khaleesa bint Sinan al-Jilani, who is the reporter for Westernland News that you encounter during the Citadel the Fourth Estate assignment. She basically corners Shepard after Shepard leaves the elevator after a main mission in the CSEC headquarters and asks very pointed questions to try and get Shepard's answers to go how she wants them so that she can rile up her base and get them angry. However, Shepard can answer this diplomatically and kind of turn it around on al-Jilani so that that the report actually goes pretty well. The next honorable mention goes to Rear Admiral Mikhailovich, which you also meet on the Citadel during the Snap inspection assignment. He is also another NPC that corners Shepard after she or he leaves the Normandy after a main story mission. He's pretty upset because he wanted the Normandy for his own fleet, and it turns out that now the Normandy is under Spectre and Council control, and he just doesn't like that. He's also got some space racist undertones, honestly, and that I just not a fan, gotta say. Mikhailovich will then request, or rather demand, to do an inspection of the Normandy. Shepard can refuse, and Mikhailovich will go off in a huff, or Shepard can agree and let Mikhailovich go into the Normandy and do his inspection. When he comes back, he's going to have a whole list of things that he absolutely doesn't like, such as the aliens having access to everything and things that are in the wrong place. He's basically just trying to find a reason to get the Normandy back, though, and again, yeah, undertones of space racism. Again, not the worst person on this list by a long shot, but he still sucks. And finally, the honorable mention, who I came very close to putting on this list because I really can't stand him. But again, he's not the worst, and kind of in his own smarmy way does kind of help Shepard from time to time, and that's Ambassador Udina. Udina is a fairly important NPC throughout the entirety of Mass Effect 1, and Shepard is going to deal with him several times throughout the game. He does care about humanity, but he also cares a lot about his own power, and he will find a way to blame Shepard or Captain Anderson for basically anything and everything that goes wrong, even if it is kind of his fault. So yeah, he sucks, but again, not the worst. And finally, let's move on to number one. Number one, Dr. Saleon. Dr. Saleon is an NPC that you will only meet if you do Garrus's story assignment called Garrus Finding Dr. Saleon. The way to do this is to become friends with Garrus by talking to him after each major story mission. You will then befriend him, and he will tell you about a problem that's kind of been bothering him for a while. When he was working for CSEC, he was tracking a Solarian geneticist that turned out to be harvesting organs from living beings, not just humans, not just Solarians, any race of alien, and would sell these organs on the black market. Now that's awful in and of itself, but what was actually happening is Dr. Saleon was growing spare organs in living beings, and then while these people were still alive, would cut them open, take out their organs, and sell them on the black market. This would then leave these poor people to suffer and die a very painful, very slow, very gruesome death. And he's a serial killer. He's done this a lot. He makes a lot of money with it. Garrus was never really able to catch him, however, because he always stayed one step ahead of him. However, Garrus had a breakthrough in the case and found out that Dr. Saleon is now on a ship and goes by the name of Dr. Hart, which was ironic because that's kind of what he was taking from people and then selling on the black market. When you get to the ship, it turns out that he has not stopped his experiments. There are test subjects all over the ship, and they are pretty husk-like. It looks like they've had really bad go of it. He's done all sorts of awful things to them, and they are not in a good way. After clearing out and putting them out of their misery, Shepard will find Saleon, who is pretending to be a hostage, until he realizes that Garrus is part of the rescue party, quote-unquote rescue party. Now, this can go a couple of ways. You can kill him directly, you can have Garrus do it, or you can say that you're going to arrest Dr. Saleon for crimes against everyone. However, if you don't shoot him or have Garrus shoot him, Saleon will then try to escape and will start attacking you, which again results in his death. There's no way for Dr. Saleon to get out of this alive, which is good, but it can go in various different ways. And yeah, he ends up dying. Good riddance. So yeah, the reason I put Dr. Saleon as number one is he probably had the largest body trail. He's clearly a serial killer. He's clearly evil. He's clearly hurt countless numbers of people, and it was a good thing that we were able to track him down and get rid of him. So that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below who your least favorite NPCs or your worst NPCs are in Mass Effect 1. Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree? How would you make changes? I'd love to hear your opinions on that. Don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitch And you can join my Discord server. I have links for all of those down in the description box below. And you can become a channel member, which is an optional $1.99 or $4.99 a month by clicking the join button down below. And if you wish, you can watch my Mass Effect 1 Let's Play series on YouTube by clicking the I in the upper right-hand corner. Hope you all have a great day, and I will see you later. Bye!